What is in your opinion, Gabriel, an ideal morning routine that kind of sets your day up for success?
In theory, when I do exercise, but I can, but what really puts me in a good mood is like when my kids come to my bed and jump over me, and we, and then I look around. I have my daughter and my kid, my son and my wife and everybody waking up together and one pushing the other to the side. That's usually a good morning routine that puts me in a good mood.
That's great. What is something that you started doing recently that significantly improved your life? Could be something you bought or a new habit that you took.
Um, I was in theory, I bought some workout routines, but I cannot state their results because so far it's just like oh intermediate fasting. That gave me some real results. And stopped drinking coffee, which we were talking about this earlier. But
Yes.
I always feel there was a coffee would dictate my routine, might dictate a lot. Like, and I have to have a coffee when I wake up, and then half an hour later I have to have a second coffee to keep me awake. And it's like fuck, I have to do everything has revolve around having a coffee around. What if I stop? So I've tried to do a cold turkey. That's how you say, right? Cold
Yep.
turkey.
Cold turkey. Yeah, good cold turkey.
Uh, and it was hard for the first quarter, but now I just don't have this need to have a coffee in the morning anymore, and that's I don't miss it. I like tea. I finally became a true British.
Yeah. Amazing. I hope one day to be as evolved as you. I continue to be highly dependable on caffeine stimulation one day. Uh, but what's your biggest fear?
Biggest fear, uh, it's a new one after becoming a parent, is not being able to care for your kids, because you get to a point where you know that you'll be okay. You're gonna you can survive with almost nothing, and I don't know. But when you have other people that depend on you, I think that's becomes your biggest fear, to make sure that they will be to provide for them. I think most parents would get to this point. I know that my wife also has also the first thing is you care for your kids more than anything else in the world.
Uh, so this is a traditional Peter Thiel question. Basically, if there's something that you think that's true that most people don't agree with you.
One thing that I think is true to most, well, one thing is easy. Uh, most people in this world are pretty religious,
Oh yeah.
and I, for one, so most people don't would not agree with me. I don't think there's much after these lives, and I don't think it's much beyond what we see here. And I don't define material world in a very limited sense. I think we have definitely proof of things that are immaterial, like consciousness, and relationships, and those stuff. There's more to do with the world than that we don't know. But I definitely don't believe in like higher minds or powers reaching setting up rules or having expectations of us. So one thing that I believe is that that's all that we're living now, and that we should make the most of it. And then we, uh, a- if you look on the way we evolve and the things that give us pleasure and make us feel fulfilled, it's about how we relate to people and the connections we have. We are uh, uh, the type of being that needs to be connected. And I think that's very scientific, that's very physical, that's very provable. Um, and so I've kind of have this. Some people look at me and say, "Oh, you are a little bit religious," but no, I think it's very scientific. I think there's a very, it's very true about the nature of the human beings, how we evolved to be into being social and collaborative beings. We are. How can anyone expect the type of monkeys that we are, very weak, very not muscular, very uh, and dominate the world if it was not for collaboration and collaboration comes from the sense of being. So I think it's very natural. We so I don't believe in supernatural, but at the same time believe that belonging and relating to people it's the most important thing you can have.
Yeah, you are the most spiritualized atheist I have ever met. Just so
I
for
heard that.
the record.
I heard that before, and
Yes,
I'll take that as a honor, badge of honor.
that's great. That's a perfectly fine answer, and we'll stop there. Otherwise, we'll be here for another 4 or 5 hours. But and then the last thing is just, is there a company, right, that you wish that you have founded, either that has been founded before, or something that if you were not working on Rocket Chat, you're like, huh, I think I'd like to sell coconuts in a beach in Thailand or something like that.
Uh, I think a company that I admire and I like what they're doing is, and I mentioned a few times here, and I have a profound admiration for Tsitsi from GitLab. I think what they're doing is enabling the digital world in some cool ways, and I think the way he's doing is admirable. And I've yeah, it's I think my benchmark for a lot of things that I do. Um, and I've missed a person that has passed away recently, which I was totally I didn't never met in person, but it touched me. Was Tony Shea. I think like his book about like the delivering happiness was my first very first audiobook. I felt some ways a connection with him because I believe like, a lot of things that he was talking about, and really felt he was on to something. But never met the guy, and but I felt that it shaped the way I look into things about reading his books and put me on a path that is also took me here.
That's great. Yeah, that book also, it was one of the first business books I read as well, and it really it transformed the way I think I even called the Zappos support way before the Amazon acquired them,
Just to check if
just to
that was
check. Yeah, I was like, can you
you
still
tried to
fucking
order a
order?
pizza.
No one cares. And no, I did. I was like, hey, can I actually order a pizza? I'd love traffic directions. Can you help me out with this? And they were super nice about it and laughing,
Wow.
and they're like, oh, you're not the first.
That was something that I would be curious about. How many people did that? Like, it would be interesting to measure the number of calls to the Zappos customer support after the release of the book, because so many people are like, really? Okay, I'm gonna try that out. Like, I can imagine at least a couple of thousand people might have had that idea and do that. I was
Yeah.
living in London, so I didn't try to do that.
Yeah, I always appreciate good tactical diligence, I guess. But the and I had the opportunity to meet him a couple of times at South by, which was an event that he usually frequented. And when I heard about the story, I was profoundly sad. I wasn't close to him, but I interacted with him socially a few times, and he was a very shy guy. It was so interesting because there was this whole creative Burning Man, crazy psychedelics, type towards him, to him. This whole side, whereas also like he also had that like strong, shy Asian immigrant type of like a vibe. It was interesting how that it was a combination, and the more that you read about it, I think the Wall Street Journal did a great work on covering the
Mm.
whole situation. You see how sad this whole thing was because ultimately he was just surrounding himself with terrible people.
And that's
And
when you realize like the whole thing about money doesn't bring you everything, and maybe the ultimate it shouldn't be like the financial value. Like he had all the financial success you could expect for, and then still like something else was missing, and he went array because of that. So it's a trick situation. You have to find your north star and have like hold on to the values that brought you there. Uh, I remember we talking about the whole thing because when it happened, I think we met a few times and talk about this. It's a eye opening event, right? Um, in the sense, someone that had so much success still wasn't fulfilled and was could lead to him to that path.
yeah, well, I think we can add on that note, just like we can continue to be playing our game of.
Let's try to find a more positive note. One last positive note,
No, it is a
because we
positive one because in the end, right? Like how many times you talked
yes,
about the importance of your family and your kids, and the fact that's like we're here playing
that's
long
true.
term games, sharing the same values and principles, and then money is just as like other consequence, right? It's not about that, and not everyone plays it
Most
that way,
definitely.
but. So I actually see it as a very positive note, and in the end,
Indeed,
Gabriel.
indeed. I think I'm so glad. Like I met you, and then so I'm so glad I met other people along this journey. Even the guys like Sitsi from Good Life that didn't work out. Even the guys who were present only for a short period of time, like Harry, and I learned so much of him. With like people who are now on the long term, like with Vanessa, you, Caio, and people who are now joining the team, like Dylan, like on the board, and some people on the team, like it's it's such an incredible journey. And I think there was a conversation that Monashis allowed us to have with Steve Wozniak from obviously from Apple, uh, and then he said something during the conversation with the founders, and he said, "There's nothing more adventurous and challenging and fun than starting than a startup, than being part of a startup." uh, and that was I wrote his quote and he was said that, and then I told Kai from she's like, this is an amazing quote, and it's like someone should turn this into a T-shirt. But it almost like glues together what Sitz said about like maximize for interestingness. It glues together the fact that the vision that I have. I can see so many parallels between being a parent and people, my kids following my examples and not what I tell them to do. They just do what I do. Uh, and when I start up, it's the same thing. It's such an opportunity to grow because you're gonna have a mirror hold to yourself all the time, but from everyone that works for you, right? They're not going to do it to tell them to do it. They're going to copy your behavior. They're going to understand that because that's what human beings do. That's the kind of monkey that we are. We're a social monkey that copies behavior and tries to conform, be part of something, and they will adapt to it. So maybe that's a summary of everything on the end. Find purpose, lead by example, and have fun along the way. That's all that are the things that matter.
Beautiful. Talk about ending on a positive note.